Hi guys, how are you? So, as you guys know, I'm reading a book now. It is called The Gift of Fear by Gavin Becker, and it's got some really cool things in there. His whole life has been security, safety, predicting violent behavior, and the whole bit. He teaches companies how to increase their security, how to terminate an employee safely, um, you know, talk to people who have been victims of crime and teach them how to tap into their gut feeling, their instinct, because your instinct is not wrong. Your instinct is your built-in alarm system, and he teaches you how to tap into that, especially if you've been a victim of a crime or you want to prevent from being becoming a victim of a crime. And he talks about predictable behavior that shows that a person has a propensity towards violence. Okay. And he said that all killers come from an abusive background as a child, which I'm not really surprised by that. They learned that rage from somewhere. And being a child of abuse myself, you're not allowed to show any emotion other than fear and intimidation. Okay? You can't express yourself, and you damn sure can't get mad about nothing. Oh no. So what'll happen is that rage stays there, and it builds and builds and builds and builds over time, and leads to people becoming, criminals, doing criminal activity. So I wanted to read this part because it got me a little emotional today, slightly teary-eyed. So he's basically saying, if you have not an elephant, if you have a person who was told their whole life that you're a loser, you're never going to amount to anything, just bad all the time, you're just a fat loser. I don't even know why I had you. You're the reason our parents, you're the reason me and your mom broke up, or whatever the case may be. And that gets ingrained into your head that you're a loser, you're never going to amount to anything. If you hear something often enough, you start to believe it. And he said, when a child's primary caregiver delivers both praise and brutality, and I never had praise, that's out of the question. That wasn't even on the on the radar. Okay. So when they get praise and brutality, it's a virtual coin toss as to which will attach itself to the child's identity. Terribly unhealthy families damage children in many ways, but one of the saddest is the destruction of the child's belief that he or she has purpose and value, right? Without that belief, it is difficult to succeed, difficult to take risks. Perhaps more to the point, it may seem foolish to take risks, knowing as people do that they are not up for the task. Okay. And that, like I said, that goes back to, if you hear often enough that you're a loser, I don't even know why you were born, you ruined my life. No, you ruined your own life. You didn't know what birth control was. The kid didn't have any say-so in that. So lay off of that crap. Anyway, the way circus elephants are trained demonstrates this dynamic well. When young, they are attached by heavy chains to large stakes driven deep into the ground. They pull and yank and strain and struggle, but the chain is too strong, the stake too rooted. One day they give up, having learned that they cannot pull free, and from that day forward they can be chained with a slender rope. When this enormous animal feels any resistance, though it has the strength to pull the whole circus tent over, it stops trying because because it believes it cannot. And that's the same thing with children. You break them verbally, and in some cases physically. You break them and break them and break them and break them. They have a defeatist attitude. They feel hopeless and helpless, and you could tie them just a little bit to where if they pulled, they could get free, but they won't try because their spirit has been broken. Ready? You'll never amount to anything. You can't sing. You're not smart enough. Without money, you're nothing. Who'd want you? You're just a loser. You should have more realistic goals. You're the reason our marriage broke up. Without you kids, I'd have a chance. You're worthless. This opera is being sung in homes all over America right now. The stakes driven into the ground, the heavy chains attached, the children reaching the point they believe they cannot pull free, and at that point they cannot. Unless and until something changes their view, unless they grasp the striking fact that they are tied with a thread, that the chain is an illusion, then they are fooled, and ultimately that whoever so fooled them was wrong about them, and that they were wrong about themselves. Until all this happens, these children are not likely to show society their positive attributes as adults. There's more involved, of course, than just parenting. Some of the factors are so small they cannot be seen, and yet so important they cannot be ignored. They are human genes. The one known as D4DR may influence the thrill-seeking behavior displayed by many violent criminals. Along with the influences of environment and upbringing, an elongated D4DR gene will likely be present in someone who grows up to be an assassin or a bank robber or a daredevil. Behavioral geneticist Irving Gottesman said, under a different scenario and in a different environment, that same person could become a hero in Bosnia, or a hero anywhere for all that matter. In the future, genetics will play a much greater role in behavioral predictions. We'll probably be able to genetically map personality traits as precisely as physical characteristics like height and weight. Though it will generate much controversy, parents may someday be able to use prenatal testing to identify children with unwanted personality genes, including those that make violence more likely. Until then, however, we'll have to settle for a simpler, low-tech strategy for reducing violence, treating children lovingly and humanely. So I'm going to tell you about this quick scenario that happened in the beginning of the book, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So Kelly lived at this apartment complex. This is a true story. It's one of the many cases that are in this book. And Kelly went to see him after this played out. She went to the grocery store. She got what she needed. She was going up the stairs to her apartment, and she dropped a bunch of groceries, and the cat food started tumbling down the stairs, and it just turned into a mess. Well, this guy pops up out of nowhere, and he wants to help her regardless of her saying no, and that's a red flag, by the way. No, I'm good. No, I'm going to help you. And she said, no, really, I'm good. And he insisted on helping her. And he made a comment that, oh, I see you've got you've got a cat. We've got a hungry cat up there. Which has to do with something teeming, where this person means harm to you, but they're trying to make it that you guys are a unit. We've got a hungry cat up there, and we don't have jack shit. She has a hungry cat, but he's trying to create this illusion of oneness and this illusion of we're in this together. And she was still saying no. I've got the rest of it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And he kept going. Then he took the bag out of her hand, one of the bags that she was holding out of her hand, despite her saying no, and said, you need to, sometimes you need to, I don't know how he worded it. You need to swallow your pride or something along those lines. You need to let somebody help you or whatever the case is, which is very disrespectful, because if she said she don't need your help, fool, she said she don't need your goddamn help. Well, he pushed and pushed and pushed. He's going to be the hero of the day, and that is all a red flag. And in retrospect, she remembers all the red flags and all the things that made her feel very awkward about him, but she felt bad about turning away from him because he's acting like he's the nicest guy in the world. And then she finally got up to her place, and he insisted on coming into her apartment with her with those items. And he said, I'm just going to drop these in there. I promise. Which isn't true. Okay. How can a stranger make a promise to you? They don't know you from a can of paint. But he's trying to create this, like I said, this closeness, and you've got nothing to fear with me, and everything is fine. And nothing could have been further from the truth. Well, he sexually assaulted her in her apartment, and he said, "You stay in here. I need to, I'm going to go in the kitchen and get something to drink." But she heard him opening and closing drawers. Why would he be doing that if he's looking for something to drink? She believes in retrospect that he wanted to get rid of her, if you know what I mean. And he had a weapon, and it would have been too loud. So she thinks he was looking for another weapon to use that wouldn't be nearly as obvious. And she managed to go down the hallway and leave her apartment and get help. So thank God she was safe. So then she went to go see Gavin, and she told him what happened and how could I have prevented that. And she said, "I had no idea what was going on." He said, "Yes, you do." She said, "No, I don't." He said, "Yes, you do." "What was the feeling you had when you seen him come out of nowhere?" "I felt very and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to get it word for word because that was in the beginning of the book, and I am this deep in. Let me show you. I'm this deep in. I've got this much left out of all these pages. Okay, so I'm not going to remember word for word, but I'll give you the gist of it, basically. And what, like, I didn't know. Yes, you do. What did you feel? "I felt uncomfortable. I felt weird. I felt awkward. Like, where did he come from?" He said, "Okay, and?" Because he's trying to make her go inside herself to verbalize what she was feeling in the beginning, which was 1000% accurate, 1000% true. And she said, "Well, he was way too friendly. He didn't care that I didn't want his help." And Gavin has terms for all those things. I don't know what's wrong with my finger, but it feels weird. Anyway, she realized in retrospect that he wasn't buzzed in. Like, if he was there to see somebody else, or he had a friend there, or whatever the case is, she never heard the intercom. That's a red flag, right? Because where the heck did he come from? Mr. Hero, Mr. Savior of the day. And she had found out after the fact that he had attacked someone else. I think he had taken someone else's life. I can't remember. But he had attacked someone else viciously. Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Wonderful, which is all an optical illusion, and in his case. And he said, "You got to follow your instincts. Your instinct, your gut instinct said, this dude is not a good dude, regardless. And it's pretty rude if someone says they don't need your help and you gonna push and push past the boundaries anyway, which is what people do who have something wrong with them. Like, if a person is a really good person and they don't have ideas of wanting to harm you, they're not gonna force the issue. He was determined to make her a victim, his next victim. And so whatever you say is not relevant. It's just not relevant because this is what's going to happen. Fortunately, she survived. But it's better to be rude to someone and say, "Hey, I said I don't need your help." And Gavin also said at another point later in the book, you got to be firm about it. And if you put your arm out and you say, "Stop, I said I got it," and you let them know through your tone, through your body language, through your eye contact, "I'm not having it. I said no." He was trying to make you feel guilty if you didn't accept his help. Meanwhile, he was intending and did harm her. Okay. People who are the most vicious and the most off are the nicest people in the world when you first meet them. Very nice, very sweet, "Let me give you a ride. You don't need to walk. It's hot out here, or it's going to rain," or whatever it is. And some people will do that too. This isn't in the book, I don't think. But some people will do that too. "I'm your savior. I'm swooping in and taking you out of a bad situation." But what's happening, if that person has ill intentions, what's happening is you're going from the pan to the fire. And they're really nice until the switch flips and they go straight to the crazy page. There was on many of occasions where a guy enticed a woman to get in the car, and he's either a murderer or he likes to assault women or both. And he's really, really sweet till you get in the car, and then all of a sudden there's a switch. And there was one particular time, it's happened more than once though, where all of a sudden, without warning, he grabs her by the back of her hair and slams her face into the dash of the car. Slams her right into the dashboard. So that niceness can be a cloak. It can be, you know, people, I lost my dog, or I have no idea what time it is, or do you have a cigarette? Can you give me directions? You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe them squat. And if you don't feel comfortable, you don't engage with them, period. I'm new here. I'm new from around here. I have no idea. I can't help you. And make sure you have your weapon in your hand. People have been attacked in broad daylight, in a mall, in front of everybody, okay? Have your weapon in your hand. You just never know when you're going to need it, okay? Because I was never raised in a safe environment, the people who are supposed to protect me, the parents, whatever that means, because they were never those, they are the people I needed protection from. So when terrible things happened to me, I never told them. I never told her about my accident where I did 2 full spins. That's how I damaged my neck. In my back, and developed fibro and all this other. I never told her that. In fact, when I did tell her many years later, before I told her to grow up and hung up in her face and never talk to her again, you don't owe your parents anything. You don't owe them a connection, a relationship, nothing. This biology, that's the only thing that connects you if they're evil, period. Science and biology, and that's not enough for me to keep in contact with you, especially if you're evil. You're going to die. You were born evil. You're going to die evil. Get out of my face. Anyway, we argued about me having an accident. You never did. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Tone of voice, bitch, don't tell me what I had. I know I had an accident. A nasty, nasty, nasty accident that had lifelong repercussions. But I didn't tell her because I'm smart. Okay? You don't tell your enemy that you had a bad situation, because whether it's you've been assaulted or someone tried to assault you, and I've been through that too, both of that, all of the above, or you've had a terrible car accident, or whatever it is, you brought that on yourself. Because we all know accidents don't happen, right? You brought that on yourself. Ain't no man gonna come out of nowhere. That's exactly what that bitch would have said. Ain't nobody gonna come out of nowhere and attack you, which is like a humongous lie. How can you trust the person who supposedly raised you, but they were your worst enemy? You can't trust them to tell you something, to tell them something personal that you went through that was destructive to you and possibly has, psychological damage. You can't tell them that, because they're going to re-traumatize you. Well, why were you in that situation in the first place? That's just dumb. You had a car accident? You're an idiot. Nobody has car accidents unless they're a freaking idiot. Which is what she would have said, which is asinine and stupid and illogical and false. Okay? People have accidents every day, and they're not always that person's fault. I didn't tell her because I did not want to get 3rd degree. It's just a hellish situation to live in an environment where the people that are supposed to be your biggest protectors are your biggest enemies. They don't teach you how to protect yourself because they don't want you to protect yourself. They're your enemies. Family, give me a break. I've had strangers treat me better. So I gotta tell you this one thing, and it's pretty neat. There's a young lady who, I feel like I have a splinter in my finger, but I don't. That's a weird feeling. Anyway, there's a lady that works at a store here in town, and she saw me in a motorized cart. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I use a cart. Most of the time I use a cart. She goes, "What happened to you? You're in a cart today." I said, "I have chronic pain." She goes, "I never would have known that. You come in here with a big smile all the time. You've got the best attitude." She was blown away. She said, She was helping me and she's looking down and she's helping me, but she looks floored. She's like, I would have never known something's wrong with you because, you know, the way you carry yourself and your attitude. That's a prime example of what I mean by strangers will treat you better sometimes, a lot of times. Because I was told by someone who's known me since I was a pup, reason you don't have any real friends right now is because of your attitude. Really? How come a stranger knows me better than you do? What? How come a stranger knows me better than you do? Because she's smart and you're not. I don't talk to that individual anymore anyway, because, you know, the mask finally fell off and the real him popped out like, ta-da, this is the real me. And I'm like, bye-bye, I'm not dealing with that. Anyway, I wanted to share that small part, those scenarios with you. And again, the name of the book is Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker, and he's an expert on anything security, safety related. Yeah, so I hope you like it. I hope you get this book. I'm thinking about purchasing it. It's a really, really, really good book. You guys take care. Much love, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.